I don't care what anyone says, Conor McGregor is a failure of a person. Now, people might disagree with me strongly and say that, yes, Conor McGregor is not the best pound for pound fighter, but he's entertaining and he's had he's been paid to the extent of millions over his career so far, and it's true. Yes, highly entertaining. In fact, he was one of my favorite fighters 10 years or so. But there are multiple reasons why Conor McGregor is quite clearly a bad person. Notwithstanding the fact that Conor McGregor in lead up to the fight with Habib Nurmagomedov, he said the most, in just simply to get under the skin of the fighter he was opposing. He did the most racist. He obviously talked about Habib Nurmagomedov in a way which is dehumanizing, and it culminated in a very karmic victory for Habib, where he just completely destroyed him and even fought whole of Conor McGregor's kind of team. Conor McGregor has not really recovered since then. But I would go one step further. Now, if it was simply that he was, sort of highly aggressive when it comes to marketing and getting, but also importantly, getting into the psychological game with opponents. If it was just that, then it would be fine. But actually, Conor McGregor, unfortunately, not only talks the talk, but he walks the walk when it comes to his brand of toxic personality. What do I mean by this? Well, Conor McGregor, a bit like, of course, this recent movie that's come out, and the director, Citizen Vigilante, whereby the protagonist is a person who obviously gives no shit about the law and takes it into his own hands. But you're meant to think of him as the good guy, the protagonist, because he's shooting, obviously Muslims or the people in a kind of it's basically a populist rendering of how justice should be, in the same way that Conor McGregor is a populist character. Conor McGregor himself tried to get into politics 2025, as this kind of this national populist, anti-immigration, Islamophobic character, kind of a politician. Of course, he kind of withdrew his entry as this independent candidate. Only that all these right-wing politicians that portray themselves as this kind of fight against anti-immigration for the reason of ensuring that the moral standards of the country, the freedom of the individuals, freedom of women, is something that is enshrined and protected. Well, quite clearly, Conor McGregor settled after he was charged for rape. He settled it to the extent of 2 million, around 2 million euros, after he was charged for raping a woman, assaulting and raping a woman. So clearly, Conor McGregor is not a good person, and furthermore, he is the sort of person who obviously clearly is the kind of bad guy that he himself portrayed himself to be against. And this is the same for the right. This is kind of the reason why a lot of damaged individuals join the right wing, because it's almost a kind of redemptive, has a redemptive power to people who are immoral themselves. It goes it's about showcasing yourself as morally superior, even though deep down you know inside that you are morally fucked up. It's a way, and it's also comes from a place of a lack of self-awareness, a lack of empathy, a lack of conscience, that you can actually put yourself on this pedestal to ensure to give off the impression that you are better than other people, or more commonly, that other people, the so-called other, are inferior, and therefore it doesn't matter if you do illicit, or, violent or rape-like activities. Same with Army Hammer. This is the lead protagonist of Citizen Vigilante. This is a man who was charged, of course, for rape himself. But of course, the case got thrown out because there was limited evidence. But I do not doubt that all these these people who are very much on a cutting edge of punishing immigrants or punishing people that they deem to be all in the same boat, and represented of a certain trope. Of course, they are obviously anti-Islamophobic, and they see Muslims as like rapists in some because that's the degree of their intelligence. They can't see beyond the kind of nuance, the intellectual simplicity, or just they can't see things as they are. They have to see things through a simplistic, intellectually dishonest way of the world, because by making things more simpler, you don't need to engage the world with the world as it is. You have to, you can see things through a lens where you don't necessarily need to think. You don't necessarily need to adapt to the world. You can work through the world through this blueprint that you have downloaded into your mainframe, into your ideology, and simply see all Muslims in a certain way. Now, obviously, the right wingers will watch my video quite clearly if I'm calling out Conor Macgregor as this disgusting man who was charged for rape. Obviously you have their populist defenders of Conor Macgregor, but quite clearly, these people are not thinking straight. Even a vast majority of these people even think that I'm Muslim. It's about seeing things through a simplistic series of tropes, of prejudices, of stereotypes, and they can't see beyond that. They can't see beyond this because it obviously takes real intelligence to see reality as it is, to simply make a differentiation between what has been before, what is is taught to you in the media and education system, and what is actually happening right now. Quite clearly, the issues of society are not a result of immigration. In fact, when immigration goes down, the problems of society do not suddenly go down as well. The issue of society is due to the exploitation of the working class by the super rich. In fact, this is the reason why there is a divide between the South and the North in England, for example, whereby you had jobs outsourced by the super rich who owned the factories, owned the, or the kind of the companies that were kind of extracting coal, for example, and they outsourced it. And this was all facilitated by a government that is very much free market capitalist. So you have to look at the way societies run, who owns the power. It is not immigrants who own the power. In fact, immigrants are easy pickings. Then that is why the media and governments target them. But I just want to go back to his point. Conor Macgregor, one of the most obviously highly entertaining, but quite clearly a bad person. But these bad people are the first ones in line to play the game of politics. These are the first ones to also support Zionism, or rather, be very limited in their criticism or rather, be limited in their support for Palestinians, because these people obviously do not come from a place of empathy. These people come from a place of entitlement, a lack of self-awareness, of might makes right, and they want to be seen as the heroes. They are moralists, but they don't have moral clarity. Moralists being that people who simply hit other people with a hammer to showcase that they are morally inferior, or that they are they're putting themselves on a pedestal to show that they're morally superior. without any indication that they are themselves morally acting in accordance to what they're purporting themselves to believe in. There's no consistency here. It's about do what I say, but do not do as I do. And these are people, all vast majority do have a violent or aggressive tendencies towards women or vulnerable people. But anyways, more on this in the future. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.